The American President Trump made some very strange statements today. For example, he set the end of this week as the deadline to stop this war on Iran. At the same time, he talked about the possibility of invading Cuba. It's clear that America will now try to cover up this disastrous failure in Iran with an imaginary military success in Cuba. How is that? Why can't America storm the Strait of Hormuz today? What is the secret that Iran is hiding about Ali Larijani? Is it really Netanyahu who appeared in the picture today? We will answer all these questions today, but after this break, stay with us. Dear viewers, greetings to you all and welcome to this new episode today as part of the Opinion series, which we dedicate to presenting the latest developments and updates of this war taking place in the Middle East between Iran and the Epstein Alliance. Today, dear viewers, since the beginning of this American-Israeli aggression against Iran, the only thing Iran could do was to increase the cost of the war on economies and raise it globally to a level that would put America under great pressure. The American military capabilities cannot be compared with Iran. There is no room for comparison. This is an unequal conflict in terms of power. Therefore, the Iranian response cannot be in the same way that Iran is being attacked, not at all. And Iran's concept of victory cannot be the same as the Epstein Alliance's concept of victory, not at all. And this is something I have explained in previous episodes. So, the most important response for Iran, for example today, is closing the Strait of Hormuz. This powerful card that Iran possesses is being used today, but with smart use, meaning with great intelligence. This means that it allows cargo ships owned by friendly countries like China, India and Pakistan to pass through. So while it allows them, it prevents others from passing, to the extent that it has reached the current limits today. 15 commercial cargo ships were targeted and destroyed, and 15 oil tankers were targeted and destroyed. They were trying to pass through the Strait of Hormuz, and among them were 2 ships from America. So what raises questions for the Americans today is that up until now, they don't know what Iran's military capabilities are in the Strait of Hormuz. They don't know exactly what military means Iran uses today to attack such ships when they approach the Strait of Hormuz. Is it done with missiles launched from ships, or is it done with anti-ship missiles launched from the coast? Or by using drones, or by using unmanned submarines? Or by planting naval mines, or what? There is a big question that neither America nor American military intelligence has found any answer to yet. That's why there are concerns today when the Strait of Hormuz is closed. America is actually not affected by that, and as Trump says, in fact it's the opposite. America is benefiting financially today because it's selling its own oil at these high prices. America has large reserves and significant oil supplies that come from Canada, Mexico and Venezuela. Recently, after the kidnapping of President Maduro of Venezuela, at the same time, it benefits from these prices because it may cause some harm to America's competitors, such as the European Union countries, for example. But here we should not forget that there is significant harm to some of America's partners, like the Gulf countries, for example. And we also can't forget that the American benefit is only limited to the price of oil staying at this threshold of $100 per barrel, meaning as soon as the price exceeds $100 per barrel, things will turn around and America will also be harmed. And Iran is openly saying that the price of oil will reach $200 per barrel if the war continues for another week. Therefore, America, in order to prevent the situation from reaching this level, is now racing against time to find a solution, but it has no solution. And to open the Strait of Hormuz, it must send American ships and naval forces to the region to secure the passage of oil tankers. It means acting exactly as it did in the 80s. What happened during that period? In the 80s, when the war was between Iraq and Iran, it was almost the same problem. Iran was attacking the Gulf oil tankers that were transporting oil from Kuwait and Saudi Arabia and so on, because they were Iraq's partners at that time in the war against Iran, and Iraq was also attacking Iranian oil tankers, so there was an energy crisis similar to today. Therefore, at that time, America launched a military operation by sending warships to the Strait of Hormuz and the Gulf, and there it engaged in battles against the Iranian naval forces. But in the end, what happened? Did it provide enough protection for Gulf oil? At that time, America demonstrated a great technological superiority that only it possessed. Exactly. And then the operation was used to produce a number of Hollywood movies that exist today to promote the idea that America is the superpower, the hero of the world, the savior of the world, and so on. Qualities like these. But today, everything has changed. Iran today is not the Iran of the 80s. Iran has developed significantly. Also today, other international powers have emerged that are as advanced as America, or even more, technologically speaking, like China. That means military technology is no longer monopolized in the world by America or by the American army. That's why today, America is unable to storm the Strait of Hormuz, unable to repeat the scenario of the 80s, the scenario that was successful back then. Today it knows very well that there's a big trap waiting, set by the Iranian forces. So what does Trump do? He asks for help from Europe, from Japan, from Korea, and from other such countries. He wants the assault to be carried out by the naval forces of these countries, because he knows exactly what Iran has. He doesn't know what trap Iran has prepared for the American forces. But all these countries until today, like Japan and Europe and others, refused to participate in this war. They refused to send any forces to destruction. So today, practically, just so everyone knows, these American destroyers are originally equipped with high-level air defense systems capable of intercepting Iranian missiles and so on. But America's first problem is ammunition, and we've talked about it in a number of episodes. America's problem is the limited number of interceptor missiles it has. For instance, an American destroyer of the Arleigh Burke class carries only 96 air defense missiles as its stockpile. 96 missiles. Each destroyer has 96 air defense missiles. So what if Iran targeted it with 100 naval missiles at once? That means 4 missiles will manage to get through, will manage to hit the target, and those 4 missiles are enough to sink the ship with everyone on board. Also, when Iran targets these destroyers with a large number of missiles, it will force these destroyers to exhaust their interceptor missiles, and then the destroyer can be sunk along with its forces, advanced military equipment, and so on. On another note, the US today doesn't know for sure whether Iran has actually received hypersonic anti-ship missiles from China or not. There were reports about this, and there were negotiations 2 years ago regarding these missiles. The US doesn't know what happened. These missiles, like the CM-300 and similar types, cannot be intercepted at all by these naval defense systems. Why? Because they fly at hypersonic speed, they fly at low altitude, and the missile's range reaches about 290 kilometers. I believe this is exactly why American aircraft carriers today cannot approach the Iranian coasts within this distance of 200 or 300 kilometers, or even less. They can't even enter the Gulf of Oman. Pay close attention. Since the beginning of this war, they have always stayed at a distance of more than 500 kilometers from the Iranian coasts. Another thing is that Iran also has thousands of unmanned suicide boats and submarines. These vessels can also sink American destroyers if they enter the Strait of Hormuz. The only thing that can protect these destroyers from such boats are attack helicopters. But the problem is that these helicopters also have to fly close to the Iranian coasts, like in the Strait of Hormuz. We're talking about roughly 30 or 40 kilometers. Iran is also prepared for all these scenarios, with military and tactical plans and so on. All these scenarios make it impossible for America today to push its naval forces deep into the Strait of Hormuz. Today, they say the solution is to carry out an amphibious landing along the Iranian coasts and then take control of these coasts so they can ensure that no missile attacks happen on these shores. And it is being promoted that preparations today are moving in this direction. For example, there is news that the huge amphibious landing ship set off from the Sea of Japan arrived today in Singapore and is now on its way to Iran. But in reality, rest assured, all of this is just military propaganda, just a military show. The most dangerous thing America could do today is to carry out a landing on Iranian soil. This is exactly what Iran is hoping for today. If this scenario happens, these forces will be buried right there on that land, because the Iranian army is waiting for exactly this scenario, so that they move and become a lesson for future generations. Trump knows this very well too. That's why he's in real trouble today. What does Trump say? Today, he says that America is ready to invade Cuba. Unbelievable. Pay close attention. And after this disastrous failure in America, today he is trying to turn everyone's attention to another issue, to another case. The issue of Cuba is completely separate from Iran. No one knows, maybe Cuba will actually be Trump's savior from this predicament. Because maybe America will actually invade Cuban territory, or at least carry out a military operation to arrest the Cuban president and overthrow the regime in Cuba so he can get out of this war with Iran and cover one thing with another, covering the failure of the war on Iran with the success of the Cuba operation. And this is possible today because Cuba is truly in a very difficult situation. Cuba today is without electricity. Life in Cuba has gone back maybe 100 years. The streets are without lighting. Homes are without electricity, life without refrigerators, without washing machines, without televisions, without even the internet. The streets are empty today. There is no gasoline, not even for cars and buses and other means of transportation to operate. So life in Cuba is almost at a standstill because of this blockade that Trump has imposed for a long week. That's why Trump might be heading toward this option, toward weak and worn out Cuba, to achieve a strategic victory that would cover up this major defeat in Iran. Today, there are negotiations taking place now between America and the Cuban regime, so it's most likely that Trump won't wait for an agreement with the Cubans. He might seize the opportunity and carry out a military operation while he's deep in these negotiations, just as he's doing with Iran, in order to showcase power again, like he did with Venezuela. Therefore, as I said, covering up the failure in Iran with this success. But Russia says maybe Russia will respond in one way or another, that this is impossible and that it will respond or something like that. What did Trump say? He said it would be a great honor for him to invade Cuba. Pay close attention. Trump said that this military operation against Iran will stop by the end of this week, meaning the days between March 20 and 23. That's what he said. But he didn't specify exactly how this war will end. What is certain is that there is a scenario ready, and maybe Cuba will be Trump's savior. The American NBC network said that senior leaders of the US military presented Trump with scenarios for ending the war, meaning scenarios for withdrawing from this predicament, but this network did not reveal exactly what the scenarios are. And today there was a strange statement from Trump, honestly, because he said that the war on Iran prevented Iran from obtaining nuclear weapons, and that by doing so he prevented the outbreak of World War III. Pay close attention. He said that if America had not attacked Iran, Iran would have used nuclear weapons against Israel and against Middle Eastern countries, and a major world war would have erupted in the region. Honestly, it's a strange statement. It's as if he's giving the last possible justification for this war, just to say that he has achieved the objectives of the war and to end this war, and therefore to end the war, or as he calls it, he doesn't call it a war, he calls it a military operation. So it's certain that America will actually withdraw from this war, but no one can guarantee that the war will stop. Iran says it will not stop the war unless it gains something, gains that guarantee this aggression won't be repeated, and maybe even compensation for the losses caused by this war. So this raises a question: will Israel remain alone in this war? What would the war be like then? What would Israel's fate be? Could we witness a scenario where it disappears? Anything is possible. Also, we find that the British newspaper The Telegraph said that Mojtaba Khamenei miraculously survived the airstrike that targeted Khamenei's residence at that time. It said that just moments after he left the residence, the missiles struck the building. And what happened was that Mojtaba Khamenei only suffered a minor injury to his leg, and it said that he is now receiving treatment, but it did not specify exactly where he is being treated. Because yesterday there were rumors saying that Mojtaba Khamenei was transferred to Russia to receive the necessary treatments. Russia did not issue any confirmation or denial, and Iran also did not issue any confirmation or denial. The only thing is that the Iranian ambassador in Moscow denied it. But what's clear is that these rumors only come from the Israeli entity. Why? Because it only wants to stir up confusion among the Iranian people by saying that their new leader is outside Iran, now safe while you are being bombed, and so on. And maybe the purpose is also to bring up the topic to monitor any comments on social media or any open source hint that might indicate the whereabouts of Mojtaba Khamenei. I mean, in any hospital or in any building or in any hideout so it can be bombed. The opponent insisted because logically it doesn't make sense at all for the injury to be only in the leg. He will be sent to Russia for treatment. And especially so that everyone knows, Iran has a very advanced healthcare system. Iran is a medically and health-wise advanced country with doctors of very high competence on a global level. The country is a country of scholars. In fact, Iran is considered one of the leading countries in the world in some medical specialties, such as cancer treatment and heart diseases. They are very advanced in these fields, and a large percentage of medicines are also produced locally. Therefore, it doesn't make sense for the country's top leader to be transferred abroad just to receive treatment for his leg, unless the only purpose is to ensure the safety of the new Iranian supreme leader. To ensure that he is not affected by the repeated American and Israeli strikes, and this is possible today. Another mystery is that the Israeli entity announced the assassination of Ali Larijani, Secretary General of the Iranian National Security Council. Meanwhile, Iran remained silent and has not issued any statement to confirm or deny this incident. The only Iranian television channel that spoke out said, "Wait for a message from Ali Larijani soon, within the next few hours." While things remained unclear up to the airing of this episode, will it be revealed later what happened? What's strange is that right after this news was published, a new post appeared on Ali Larijani's account on the X platform in which he offered condolences to the Iranian Navy forces who were recently martyred. So the question remains, was he really assassinated or not? What is noticeable is that there is a very big media war going on. The situation means that all the leaders, whether in Iran or in Israel, are hiding today. And it is also noticeable that the movement and activities of spies and agents have returned once again. Because the occurrence of such a strike, even if Ali Larijani survived it, the fact that such a precise strike happened, this level of information can only come from intelligence provided by agents and spies deep in the field. And perhaps this comes after the tempting reward that was announced, I mean $10 million for anyone who provides such information. That too. It is noticeable that the Israeli entity published a picture of Netanyahu after issuing this terror. With this decision, a picture of Netanyahu said to be at the moment of making the decision to assassinate Ali Larijani. The purpose of the picture, of course, is to try to show that Netanyahu is still alive, that he is in good health, and so on. But in reality, there is nothing after this picture. I mean, there is nothing that proves the picture is recent at all. I mean, the picture could be old, from the archive of previous meetings and gatherings, maybe from last year, maybe even before that, for example. So that means Netanyahu's fate is still unclear today. So the same question remains. Netanyahu. Answer us in the comments and don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. Peace. See you next time.